Hey YouTube, Spider0804 here, and this is my new tutorial series called Be a Better Builder. This is number 1, and we will be talking specifically about prop interaction. How props of different weight interact with each other, and how props of different size interact with each other. And this is my guest, Mr. XXX Mags,
Hello, everybody.
and I will be talking specifically about prop weight. Alright, so here I have a pretty simple example. The red barrel is heavy and the blue barrel is light. Now you can see the red barrel, let me get out my weight tool here, weighs 200 and the blue barrel weighs 50. And if I freeze this, well, I don't need to freeze it. If I move this blue barrel, you can see it's pretty stiff, pretty stiff. And this is because a prop that weighs more will affect a prop that weighs less and make it stiffer. But if I switch this around so that the lighter prop is supporting the heavier prop, you can see it's a lot more spongy and it wobbles side to side and all that good stuff. So that almost has an effect like suspension, and you can use it as such. Now these props weigh the same amount and they will affect each other evenly, as you can see here. It's the same no matter how I flip it. And this is a concept we can also use. So how do we use this in practical terms? Well, for instance, a friction gear set. The two gears need to act on each other evenly, or else the gears would slip. So the two gears need to weigh the same amount. So this gear weighs 350, and when any of these are engaged, they weigh 350. But what about the light props and the heavy props? Well, for heavy props, when you have one prop supporting many props, you want that prop to be quite heavy, but you want the stuff that it is supporting to be lighter so that those connections are strong. And what about the opposite? When you have, say, an engine where you only have the pistons acting on the crank and you don't want the crank to act on the pistons, you make the pistons as light as possible, and to increase their stability, you increase the weight of the crank and the prop that they are axis or slidered to. And this is how you can use weight to your advantage to make more stable contraptions. Mr. Meggs?
Okay, so now what I'm going to discuss is the effect of prop size on strength. Now, right here, what we have, come over here. This is the other demonstration. What we have here is two props that weigh the same, one welded to the world, one welded to the other prop. And what's of importance here is when I compress the top one, it comes back to position very crisp, in a very crisp fashion, okay? Now this is one type of constraint, one type of motion that a constraint deals with. This is linear motion because the prop is moving in a linear fashion. It's moving in a straight line. Okay, there is no rotation. Now, if we look at the system again and I rotate it, when it comes back to rest, very crisp. There is no wobble, or very little at any rate. Now, if we go over here to this other system with the very large prop, if we look at linear motion, it comes back linearly, just as crisply as the small prop, okay? So what this means is that the strength of a constraint depends only on the weight of the props for linear motion, for up and down, left and right, forward and back, okay? Not rotation. If we look at this prop, when I rotate it, it wobbles. It's very wobbly, it's very spongy, unlike the small system. But the small system weighs the same as the big one. So the only thing that's changed is the size of the prop. The size of a prop only affects how rigid it will be in rotation. It does not affect up and down or left and right. To demonstrate this, we'll go over here to these examples. Here we have various geometries for a suspending prop, a prop that constrains the other one. The bars all weigh the same, The light gray props, the translucent ones, all weigh the same. If we look at the first one over here, it is spongy. It wobbles, right? The constraining prop, the translucent one, is very small compared to the bar. Now we go to the larger one. It is much more rigid, and what has changed only the geometry, only the size, much like in the other example. Now we can change the direction in which we have strength in rotation by the direction in which a prop is sized in. Now, for example, if we take this long bar and we rotate it, we can see that we also rotate the supporting prop in the direction of the long bar's axis. Okay? But if we move it like this, we can see it's very rigid. But if we rotate it in the direction in which the supporting prop is very thin, it's very wobbly. So we can have variations in rotational rigidity simply by changing the shape of an object. But we can make this strong again. We can make this system very strong in all axes by making the supporting prop very, very heavy. And as we can see, it's very stiff.
This has practical applications. For instance, on this car, my turning prop only needs to apply force in one direction. So it's very thin in two ways, but long in the specific direction that I need to apply force, which is to the wheels. And as well, the crankshaft, the longer it is, the more stable it is in rotation. It doesn't need to be stable anywhere else except for rotation. So the longer it is, the more stable it gets. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Nope, this is it. I'm done.
Alright, this is the first video of Be a Better Builder. Hopefully you've learned something, and these are some more advanced concepts, but we'll be explaining things later down in the road like welds, central prop design, axes, ball sockets. But I wanted to get these concepts out of the way because they're really handy to know when you're trying to design something that works. And thanks for watching, and have a good one.